Dang, man. I was really trying to stay optimistic. Not about the overall performance, but because I genuinely thought today's episode with Mona was way better than the last time she was on. I think that one was a Patreon episode. And I'm not even talking about that part. I'm talking about the fact that, hold up, this is not water under the bridge between Mona and Joe. There's still real tension there. Guys, when someone cracks jokes about you, you know that saying, a joke only hits if there's some truth behind it. But another is saying too, if it happens once, it's an impulse. If it happens twice, it's a coincidence. If it happens a third time, now you're looking at a habit, a pattern. So what happens when you mash those two ideas together? I had to come up with my own conclusion. It gets really hard to keep brushing it off as just a joke when it keeps being repeated. That said, how many times is Joe going to do the whole pass the ball and drop it move? How many times is Joe going to flat out ignore everything Mona says at the end of the pod? She literally said, because we all know it's Ish's birthday, "Hey guys, I want a gift when it's my birthday." And for anyone who follows Mona, you already know when her birthday is. I don't personally know, but I'm going to assume it's within the next 3 months. It's coming up soon, which is exactly why she brought it up. And when she said that, nobody in the room said a single word. It got so quiet that Joe just kept talking about the song he was already on. Everybody was in full ignore mode. All of them. But when your leader is ignoring what is clearly a main draw with Mona, what kind of message does that send to everyone else? Now Ice, speaking of jokes, I'm playing. But Ice always says it depends on how much you like a person when it comes to how they're treated. And since Mona is stepping into our space, aka the JBP universe, if she isn't liked off the ship, everything she does is going to be annoying. People are going to nitpick her movements and clock every little thing. And with that being said, normally when people take shots at Joe because he's the host or because it's his platform, I'm usually like, damn, that's disrespectful. Or, why are you coming at Joe like this? This doesn't even make sense. Because there are different ways to shoot at Joe. You can do it organically in conversation, or you can keep sending shots over and over, which is exactly what Mona is doing. Now, since she just entered our universe, part of me wants to dislike what she's doing. Like, why do you keep aiming at Joe? I'm sure there was already a conversation about her constantly saying Mr. Joe, and I'm sure there's been chatter about her continuing to joke about his weight loss too. And I don't even want to dump all of this on Mona, but there are way too many connections for me not to address it. Earlier today, during that whole trauma bonding conversation about step-parents, I should say, it was wild how Mona said she didn't have any trauma from it, then immediately started unpacking trauma from it. And I don't want this to turn into a Mona bashing session just because of the things she keeps doing, but if this is the energy she's being met with, then of course she's going to respond the way she is. Of course she's going to call Joe out for taking Ozempic, Zepbound, GLP-1, whatever it is he's on. Of course I'm going to shoot in your direction when you don't even engage with me. I'm over here burning energy to the point where I'm doing research, trying to figure out, okay, is this really not a mix? Or is she exactly who she says she is for her to be moving like this? Newsflash, yes she is. So if you already knew you weren't going to rock with how she moves, why bring her over here in the first place? And that's when my antennas go up. The brain starts spinning. Uh-oh, this feels like one of Joe's tells. Not a tell, wrong word. More like one of his habits. He brings in people who already have some level of notoriety, then he makes them feel smaller because of the operation he's currently running. He drains their energy and eventually leaves them hanging out to dry. He flips it into, not only was it a mistake for me to bring you here, but it was also a mistake for you to come here. You're not on my level. He does this to everyone, and I'm absolutely going to make a full video on this because he's doing the same thing to Mark Lamont Hill right now. The only difference is that Mark plays a different game. There are things Mark and I have talked about that I can't really put out there, but trust me, I know where his head is at. I know exactly where his head is at. So Joe is going to keep firing into space because Mark isn't going to shoot back. He's playing the long game. Mona isn't operating like that though, because she's sitting there wondering, why the hell do these people hate me? And by these people, she specifically meant Mark and Joe. Like, why am I stuck between these two hating-ass dudes? And once again, I will be making another video about Mona and Mark. That one's probably going on YouTube because I've been calling that situation for months. And just to be clear, I'm not against Mona anymore. This is straight up chaos. Listen to this. If you step outside the whole JBP bubble and just observe it from a neutral angle, it looks nasty. From the outside looking in only, you can clearly see the foul, whether that's a hand check or a full-on foot trip. Or even worse, if you were a Mona fan who tried to transition into being a Joe Budden and JBP supporter, a lot of what's happening right now would completely turn you off. Why is it that every single time she opens her mouth, it becomes a moment? Now, even though it's a lot, let me be clear, I still believe she talks too much at times. She definitely needs to learn how to choose her moments better when she's working alongside other people. But here's the thing, every time she speaks now, it hits differently because they can't control her. And honestly, they should have known that from day one if they had ever watched her content before bringing her in. So instead of managing it, they just let her talk herself out. Newsflash, y'all, I can almost guarantee Mona is an only child, or if she does have siblings, there's a massive age gap between them. I'm talking a solid 5 to 7 years on either side if siblings exist at all. The way she can keep talking while people blatantly ignore her tells me she's used to that dynamic.
I could literally do this all day, y'all. I don't give a damn. You didn't bring me on here to mute me, and I'm not about to pretend otherwise. I'll walk away, and that's exactly why I keep saying Mona doesn't care about this mess at all. That's why she doesn't even bother speaking negatively about them. She does her own thing, and these people keep trying to suppress her. Jillian, Wallow, oh, you're late, you're this, you're that, you're fired. Cool, bye. You really think she wouldn't do the same thing to Joe? That's why Joe is sitting in ignore mode instead of decision-making mode. Because at the end of the day, as much as Flip joked about getting fired and coming back, what do you think Mona would actually do? And I said this the last time I talked about it. I believe Mona is going to start firing shots at them on her podcast, to the point where you're going to be like, damn, do I need to tune in and watch her podcast now? Not necessarily to critique it, but trust me, I'm definitely peeking over there just in case. This is hell, straight up. Mona hates being here, y'all. We can joke about how she pauses all day if we want, but I've seen enough of her on her own to know this situation just isn't gonna click. She genuinely hates it here. As much as they ignore her and low-key, quote-unquote, halfway hate her, she actually can't stand them. She's been trying to tell you that. Ice, Imani, I actually mess with you. I don't always agree with your takes, but I like your vibe. I'm drawn to you. That's how Mona feels, period. Everybody else can kiss her ass. Everybody else. Because eventually she's gonna turn on Parks too. Once she puts Parks under the same microscope she's currently using on Mark, it's a wrap. There's a reason for that. And listen, this happened early. I clocked this early on. There's a reason Mona keeps coming at Mark the way she does. There's a very specific reason behind it. And eventually she's gonna rewatch the footage, review the film, and start talking to Parks the same way. But you can't convince me that nobody reads the comments. You can't tell me nobody heard the backlash. You can't tell me nobody rewatched the previous episode. Mona's energy today was completely different. And yeah, different in a good way, but also in a bad way. I feel the tension. I feel a weird energy. I do not mess with y'all, and if y'all weren't paying me this hefty check, I would have been gone already. And unfortunately, all of that leads me to this point. The energy moving forward is that she's basically going to become the female Flip. For real. I'm gonna half-ass this, you can kiss my ass, you can kiss my ass too. The only real difference with Flip is that he didn't have a podcast. I mean, he did at one point, then he stopped. But he didn't have something solid to fall back on the way Mona does. And all this is gonna do is grow her brand even more. She's playing this right.
And honestly, Joe did what he had to do too. He needed to shake things up after Melissa's exit. But this setup right now, it's not working. Y'all can't keep ignoring her. Y'all can't keep acting like you hate every woman that steps on this show. You can't. You really can't. So if she can't be herself, let her go live her life. Don't sit here trying to degrade and shrink her brand, because that's exactly what you're doing, Joe. It's nasty, and it's a nasty habit of yours. But let's be very clear. This is exactly what you're doing, and Ish and Ice can back that up. Ice might not say it loud right now, but he'll start confirming it down the line, because this part is for sure, for sure. You've been trying to chip away at my value the entire time I've been up here.
hiding it behind this fake idea of friendship. Anyway, maybe I'm digging a little too deep here. Yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.